Hello there, I'm Untitled Chapter and this is World to the West. Just gonna get started right away. So this game is made by a Norwegian studio called Rain Games. They are most known for creating the fairly successful indie title Teslagrad. And this is their second game, World to the West. Which is a very different game, but set in the same universe. And they are currently working on a third game called Mesmerizing, which I am very excited to get some more info on when we get that far. So the beginning of this game is fairly linear and fairly straightforward. It's not a lot going on. We're playing as this chick, Lumina, who can teleport, as you can see, which I will be using heavily because it's way faster than just running normally. And this is one of 4 characters in the game, and we'll get more into how that works in a little bit. It's a tiny little clip you can do there by just teleporting through the at a specific angle to teleport through the railing there. We just have to push these boxes in, and then we'll very quickly get to some fun stuff. I'm not gonna get into the story of the game. Apologies. I'm not gonna get into the story of the game because we don't get to see a lot of it. That is the primary reason for that. And also because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. But yeah, we play as Lumina and we get teleported to this strange world, and from here we'll meet some friends and have some fun. So, the basic structure of this game, I'll do this first. There's a quick, messed it up. It's a quick skip here, which we can just climb onto this structure, and that skips a little boss fight, which doesn't save a huge amount of time, but it's definitely worth doing. And right here, that hole that it said I could interact with, that's the entrance to the next chapter, chapter 2. But by using some wonky physics here, we can climb over this entire pyramid and skip ahead quite a bit, and you'll see the effect of that in just a few minutes. Also trying to line up teleports in a specific way lets me clip through these rocks. And do another set of that here. Beautiful. Actually very good for those clips. That totem pole that I just went near, that's the game's save points or checkpoints, which also allows you to change between the 4 characters. So you have to go to one of those checkpoints. You can see another one here. You have to go to one of these to be able to change between the game's 4 characters. Now, for the time being, we only have access to this chick. However, by going over the pyramid there, we get access directly to our left or west. There is a village that will actually be the trigger for chapter 9, which is the last chapter of the game. Also here I'm just collecting a couple things. I'm gonna have to kill this guy, unfortunately. I'm collecting these shiny yellow blue things. I think they're referred to in the game as batteries. They're basically just collectibles, but the game requires you to get a few of them, so. But yeah, once we enter this screen right here, we are now in chapter 9. So the first 8 chapters of the game are fairly linear, and the game will keep alternating between different characters. So for the first chapter, you will only have access to the first character here, Lumi, or Lumina. And then for the second chapter, you will lose control of her, but you will get control of another character, and so on and so forth. And it will keep cycling through characters like that, until chapter 9, where the game really opens up and you have access to all 4 characters. And it's where the real adventure starts, I suppose. Right now the game doesn't really know what to do, because we're not supposed to be playing as this character in this position. So when we go up to talk to this person, there will be 2 of her, so don't worry about it. So yeah, like I said, the reason we do this is just to get access to all 4 characters very early on, which allows us to do a lot of fun things. In itself, this doesn't really unlock any abilities, aside from another character, which you'll see in a second. This one right here, Terry. She can control animals, and she eventually, late in the game, gets access to this item right here, the monster bag. So yeah, since we're right here already, we just get access to it very early, which is nice. Here I'm just buying a bunch of animals that I can summon out of my monster bag, and those will be very useful for stuff later on, which we'll get into. So I said that she can control animals, however we haven't yet gotten the I think it's called like hypnosis mask or something, hypnosis goggles maybe. We haven't gotten access to the item that lets us control animals. That's why I had to release an animal out of my bag, because then the game just assumes you can control animals. I'm riding this guy just because it's fast. And you'll see the first actual use of one of my purchased animals right here. So these rocks I can blow up with these little lemmings. Also, I apologize for the audio here, it's pretty loud. Yeah, the little explodey guys we're gonna use a lot. And right in this chest is where we actually get the hypnosis mask, which is what we're using to control these animals. But yeah, like I said, when you have, you're not supposed to be able to have the monster bag without having the mask. So putting that guy there just so he will eat our little squirrel friend. We don't have to deal with him, because we're gonna use him here to do a little bit of a skip. So there's a big door there with a square like keystone thing, but I would like to keep my keys, so you can see them on the bottom right. I would like to keep those because I'm going to use them right here. So yeah, by just mounting onto that white guy, it's a guru I think they're called in the game, I can actually just get close to the ledge or a ledge and dismount, and it'll put me on top of the ledge, which is very useful. That avoids having to spend some of these keys, which or like little like, don't know what they are. They work as keys in this game at least, which is yeah, that ends up being really useful. Right here, I'm just doing a little bit of I'm doing half of a puzzle basically. Since I have access to more stuff than I'm supposed to, I can kind of circumvent half this puzzle. But the reason I'm doing this is because it summons this little green guy. Just spawns him right here, which is where I need him later on. So it just is faster than walking all the way from the village from earlier, all the way up here. So the major thing I'm doing right now is I'm just opening this door right here. That's very big. We're gonna use Lumina later to actually do stuff there, and you'll see that in a bit. Now we're just grabbing another circular piece, because we need that. That is the wrong character. There we go. So, as Terry, the animal controlling person, we opened up a temple, which honestly, like, right now in the story wouldn't do all that much. But we're gonna do a pretty funky little trick to skip ahead significantly in the game. So there is this ledge on the left side of this entrance that we can blink onto, and we can jump out of bounds right here. And by just keeping on going left, we will actually get into an area, a boss area that is normally supposed to be or take place very, very late in the game. So right here, we're actually at the second to last boss in the game. So we're gonna do that first. Or very early on at least. This guy, in theory, is pretty simple. You just teleport around and whack him. But this fight can be rough sometimes. I've been struggling a lot with it lately. It's been a good fight so far. It's actually a very good fight. I'll take that. Take that any day. So you see the water is lowering right now, which is actually not only the case for this room right here, but pretty much the entire map. Which is our next big step now, is playing as this little guy called Knaus. I imagine people have other pronunciations for it, but this is a game made by Norwegian people, so I insist on pronouncing it the extremely Norwegian way. So yeah, this guy's Knaus. But yeah, we can walk around these areas now that would normally have water in them, which of course we would not be able to walk around. And the reason this is nice is because this guy's progress would normally be blocked by a big door, which we would need to spend even more of those keys on, the circular and square keys. I think there are also triangles. Yeah, there are triangles as well. But yeah, we don't want to really go out of our way to get more of those keys. So yeah, by just lowering the water very early on, we can ignore that completely. And we're gonna take this guy on... This is probably like the biggest like downtime of the game, I suppose. It's just gonna be a lot of walking around and doing stuff intentionally for a while. These enemies can spawn in random locations. The first one is always asleep in the same spot, so that's fine. We got very lucky on the spawns of the other two. If you get unlucky, then those two last guys will just eat you and kill you, which is unfortunate. But we got lucky this time, so it's fine. But yeah, the big reason we're making our way over to the west of the map right now, as this dude. Is because we need an upgrade for him. So every character has 2 or 3 upgrades, or different things you can use, abilities. This guy gets a shovel very early on, and then he has second upgrade, which is what we're on our way to get right now, is some ice skates. And the ice skates are not actually very useful, but they are required to get his third upgrade, which is the only one we actually care about, which is a stick of dynamite. We'll see in a bit. I'm getting ahead of myself now. But yeah, there's only like really 2... Yeah, I would say there's only like 2, I guess 3 abilities in the entire game that we actually need. Like absolutely need to finish the game. However, like I said, some of them are required to get future abilities, or earlier abilities are required to get later abilities. So in this case, this is an example of how these guys can just absolutely murder you. Luckily it didn't hit us 3 times, so we're all good. And once we drop into this hole, we'll get the ice skates. And we'll get into another concept of this game. The run, at least. A lot of the concerns in this speedrun, and as far as how to route it goes, is not at all applicable to the casual playthrough, as you might imagine. So we're gonna teleport back here to our earlier checkpoint, and we're gonna go to the right here, because there is a cutscene right here that we're forced into after getting the ice skates. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trigger that, and then now we have actually lost control of Knaus, the little boy. So we're gonna go out of our way with this check to trigger chapter 2, which is Knaus's actual chapter, where you normally initially would get control of him. So that'll take away control of this check, but it will give us control back of Knaus. I am not doing well with the skip right now. There we go. Same skip as before, just doing some fairly precise teleports, and you can climb onto that wall. And here we trigger chapter 2. So we're doing things a little bit out of order, but it's all good. So this is where you would initially be introduced to Knaus, and where you get his shovel, his first upgrade, but we already have the only upgrade we're interested in for this case. And here, like I said earlier, you're not supposed to be able to move or change characters outside of checkpoints, but Knaus was not at a checkpoint. However, if you open the menu and load a game, you can choose what character you want to load the game as, or load the save as. So I chose to load as a different character that we haven't gotten around to yet. We'll get to know him in just a little bit. Oh, this is terrible positioning, but we're fine. Yeah, we're fine. But yeah, we load the game as, or the save as, a different character who is at a checkpoint, and that actually allows us to move Knaus to a checkpoint, which lets us get this ability very quickly. Now we're gonna load back as this guy. His name is Clonington, Lord Clonington, I believe. He is basically just a buff Mario. He's a pretty solid character. And we're gonna go out of bounds actually with him right away. So most of these ledges, like these ledges, are high enough that he's supposed to be able to climb them, but they're not supposed to have... It's not supposed to give you the ability to climb them. However, that one or a few corners like that give you the ability to climb anyway. And during screen transitions, you can see that like the character is like slowly walking into the screen. During that animation, they don't have collision. So we can actually, by just lining things up, we can avoid the collision and do some really simple, honestly, out of bounds tricks. I have 2, okay. We'll need a couple more, I'll grab a couple more. So yeah, it may not have seemed like we did a whole lot right there, but we'll get back to why that is important later. So it's a teaser for later. So now we're getting to a big chunk of the run right here, which is playing as Terry. We're gonna go over to the desert section of the game, which is on the west side, southwest, and that'll be it's a big important piece of the puzzle for multiple reasons, but we'll get to the details of that in a bit. Here's a new monster we can control. These little crab dudes with rocks on their backs. They have different abilities. They can jump, and you can also make them burrow, which lets you stand on top of them and use them as platforms. This is the intended way of doing this, by the way. So for a little bit now, we're just gonna move along as intended. And then we're gonna get to some more fun stuff. I'm hitting that guy just to stun him for a bit, so we can ride this flying turnip thing. If you get attacked while you're holding onto one of those, you just drop it, and you have to wait for about 10 seconds for it to respawn. Now these guys are fun. These little baboon dudes, they actually natively have, or innately, I don't know what the word is, maybe innately, that sounds better. But yeah, they just already have an ability that our big buff Mario friend, Mr. Lord Clonington, has, like, he gets that ability super late in the game. But these guys just have it from like the get-go, which is very useful. And we'll get into why that is useful in a little bit. Grabbing our last battery here. Fortunately that guy died, but we don't need him anymore, so it's fine. So yeah, as you've already seen, the baboons can throw you. They have a big punch ability, and they can also, like I said, climb. Well, did I actually say that? I don't think so. No. The ability they have, that Lord Clone gets later on in the game, is that they can climb really high ledges. Okay, that throw is actually fairly precise, so I'm glad I got that first try. Here we go. So this is gonna look really, really slow, but it actually saves a significant amount of time. So yeah, there is a temple up north here, coming up, which normally, if you play this game normally, you would require all 4 characters to come here at some point and like use their abilities to do things, achieve things. However, just with creative use of this one character, we can do everything with her. And using the baboon, because of the big climb ability, I'll actually grab this. Because of the big climb ability that cloning would normally have, we can replace him just with this baboon. So this is the sketchiest section, probably in the run, honestly. We just need to get through here. Okay, we only got it once. That's good, that's good. So yeah, there's this ledge up ahead that we would normally need cloning for, but we can just either climb up or toss ourselves up there. Now we don't need him anymore, so we're gonna go drown him so he doesn't kill me. And this part you're supposed to use Knaus for, the little guy. But we don't need to, because we can use a little spitting dude to shoot through the grates. And this is probably the sketchiest section. And use exploding guys to deal with these two guys. Okay, and we're gonna get to Lumi's section in a sec. I would like to get off, please. Okay. And drop this guy here, and we're gonna use the spitting guy again to line up at this corner. Shoot that gun. And that's all 4 guns. So we've used only this chick to do what's normally supposed to require every single character. I apologize if I went through that kind of quick and rushed, but it's actually a fairly stressful section, so I needed to focus a little bit. So in this section there's a big fish that's trying to eat you, as fish do. And then we trigger this chest, which has a piece. It's one of 2 pieces which are like the major puzzle elements of the game, or not puzzle elements, but pieces of the puzzle of the game, I guess. If that makes sense. Now we move on to chapter 6, which just happens to have a very convenient trigger through this door. I'm gonna need to collect some more of these exploding guys. They all lined up very nicely for me though, so that's fine. And now we're on our way to another boss fight, actually. It's gonna be a little bit, but we're on our way. So yeah, we just triggered chapter 6. The big reason to trigger chapter 6 is that gives us control back of Lumina, which, as you might remember, we lost control of by triggering chapter 2, which gave us the control of Knaus, the little kid. So we have now successfully gotten control back of her, which is good, because we need her for this next section. Right now I'm just doing a little bit of prep work as Terry first, and then we'll get to moving Lumi up to where she needs to be. This is a common theme in the game, is that a lot of different sections require you to do parts of certain puzzles or certain rooms with one character and then return with another one later on. And the further on you get in the game, the more puzzles you run into that require like all 4 characters and multiple abilities. Hit this little thing here to lower the gates, which lets us get access to another one of these rock crab dudes. So yeah, it's a little bit of busy work right now, but it's what you gotta deal with sometimes. And the only reason we're doing all this is so Terry can open up this gate. Now we're done with her for, honestly, for the rest of the run, pretty much. Yeah, we're done with her for the rest of the run. So yeah, this is the big reason we wanted to be careful of the keys we were using earlier on, so we could keep one, circular one, for this gate right here. These doors are keeping us from progressing, but if you just line up diagonally, you can just blink directly through them. It's very convenient. Now we're getting to our first of 2 fights with this chick. I have no idea what she's called, but she tries to punch you and drops rocks on you. But luckily there's a wall here that we can stand by that keeps breaking the rocks instantly, so we can ignore, like, essentially the entire boss fight. Okay, and 3rd hit here. Got it. And that's the entire boss fight. I would like to, here we go. And now we'll get to why we went out of bounds with Clonington earlier. So there are these 2 doors in the game that require a certain amount of batteries. Well, there's a bunch of them. One that requires 1 that we've already opened, one that requires 4, one that requires 9, and then the last one requires 15. And the ones that require 9 and 15 are actually blocking another boss fight with the chick we just fought. And that boss fight is, we have to do both of those boss fights to be able to finish the game. So what we can do, because we right now just have 4 batteries. The top number there is our money, 6, and then we have 4 batteries. But what we can do is go out of bounds here and skip both of the number 9 and 3, 4, 5, 6. Skip both the 9 and 15 battery doors. It's very useful. So gonna be a lot of blind movement here, fairly blind at least. I'm just relying on a setup I have. I was doing some counting earlier. So yeah, unfortunately it's gonna look very dark for a bit, but it's all good. So yeah, we're gonna try to skip directly into the boss room without having to open those doors. And this should be it. There we go. It's pretty solid overall. And now we get to another boss fight, which essentially works the exact same way. It is a little bit harder just because she has more health and there's more stuff going on. But overall it's the exact same concept. So what I'm doing right there is not like actually intended or anything, but if you blink and use... It's not actually your regular attack, it's actually an ability we don't have. But if you just press that button, you attack backwards. So it lets us blink past her and attack back. Well, this is awkward. Okay, we got it, that's fine. Once again, I'm having to do some of this blind because the rocks are in the way. It's going well so far. 2 more hits. Perfect. It's actually a really good fight. Oh, she got stuck this time, don't worry about it. There's like, she's supposed to go into the little spaceship or whatever that is. So we quickly teleport and trigger another cutscene. This cutscene actually unlocks the area for the final boss fight. That we will get to in a little bit. But before we can get there, actually get to the boss area, we need Clonington to know how to do the big climb, which we haven't gotten access to yet. And the way we're going to do that is by triggering Chapter 7, which in this game, or in this case, in the speedrun, is actually going to trigger as Chapter 3, because we haven't... We've skipped a lot of chapters, so the game is a little bit confused. But yeah, we're gonna actually teleport back to an area we've already been. But since we have now defeated the boss in that area, the game just triggers the next chapter instead. So yeah, it says Chapter 3, but it's actually Chapter 7. I will say, I actually haven't mentioned that, but I'm not playing on the current version of this game. I've downpatched this to the release version. The release version of the game. Just to have more access to stuff, because a lot of these things have been since patched. Okay. So now, once again, we're gonna load in as a different character to allow us to move. Well, actually, in this case, not to move a character, but just to get access to the rest of our team. Which in this case is only this guy. The trigger in Chapter 7 takes away control of both Lumi and Terry. But at this point, it doesn't matter. Because we're about to go to the final boss. I'm spamming the ice skates here. It's slightly faster than not. I'm triggering this cutscene, which will bring the whole gang back together, and it will instantly take away control of everyone except Clonington, who will have to climb to the top of this whole thing on his own. And then we'll get into the final boss fight, which is structured so that all the characters are needed. So for the first phase, we need Clonington to beat him up. For the second phase, we'll use Lumi to do some stuff. For the third phase, we'll do some stuff that will hopefully not go horribly wrong. It definitely can. With Knaus, and then for the last phase, we'll use Terry to finish it all up. So now we're facing off against the big bad that you're supposed to have a pretty solid relationship to at this point in the game. He has an impact on all the characters' lives in different ways, and he's a big part of this story, but we skip all that. So this is the first time we see him. So yeah, that's the first phase. You literally just beat the shit out of him. Pardon my language. You beat the heck out of him. And then for the second phase here, we have to avoid a bunch of bombs and stuff, which is very easy to do with a character who can teleport. And these things fall in the exact same pattern every single time, so it is, once you learn the pattern, it's incredibly easy to avoid any issues. So just do this 3 times and then we're good to go. Now for the third section, which is coming up, is why we need the dynamite. We're now, as the little dude, Knaus, gonna climb inside this machine. The animation will look a bit bugged out, but don't worry about it. Actually, almost looks more bugged out now than normal. But yeah, we will go inside the machine, and we will try to blow it up from the inside. So this section is pretty difficult, honestly, because it is the same every time as far as like what order you need to blow up these things. But I'm gonna try to do some manipulations that may or may not work. So we'll see how that goes. good so far. Just gonna suck that up, but it's fine. I'm not gonna get into the details of this, because yeah, it's somewhat stressful. That was a very good fight, actually. Yeah, I unfortunately just don't have time to get into the details of how that part of the fight works. And now we finish up everything with just attacking, or taking control of this guy, because apparently he counts as an animal. And we'll hit this button, and then that's when time ends. So yeah, that went a bit quick at the end, but that works out. We actually got the world record by 44 seconds right there, so... This game has had an interesting development over the last few years, so... and I've actually been working really hard on this for the past week. And yeah, let's put it this way. On Monday, my... yeah, today is Saturday, and on Monday, my PB was 51:19. And yeah, now it is... actually, I can show that, I guess. Now it is... the new record is 35:23, so... yeah, we've saved almost 16 seconds, so... it's pretty good, pretty good. But yeah. Thank you for watching, and thanks for your consideration. I think that's the way you put it. But yeah, that's me, and that's Worlds of the West. And I would love to show it off for more people, because it's a heavily underrated game, I feel. So yeah, that's it for me.